Welcome back. Okay, so because we have a matinee game tomorrow, I'm doing the preview for Saturday's games tonight. That'll post to the channel in the morning. There you go. That's why I'm saying welcome back. Because the people might get thrown off. They'll be like, why isn't he saying good morning or morning all? Because for me, my morning will be watching the St. Louis, Florida game, which is at 1 o'clock Eastern. Eastern time is what I use because that's where a majority of the viewers are located. And if we get into all the time zone stuff, I'd have to do like all of them. I don't think we need the previews to be that long. I know that I have subscribers out of East Asia, so I would have to say right into like tomorrow's time. So it becomes a little dodgy. So the St. Louis Blues, speaking of a little dodgy, their play's been a little dodgy, but they're coming off of a split of games against Tampa Bay Lightning. However, they're down some key players, so we'll see how things go tomorrow. They're 12-8-3 on the season. They're 4-5-1 in their last 10. Florida, 16-4-3 on the season. Not quite as impenetrable as they looked early in the year. However, over their llast 10, they're still 6-2-2. So the record over their last 10 has been good. This is where those really good starts to the season come in handy. Those, 10-game winning streaks start the season, 9-game winning streaks start the season. You have a nice cushion there. So then you just have to play above 500 hockey the rest of the way, and you likely make the playoffs. Then there's a 6-hour break before the next games get started, which is a little different than some Saturdays. And we have 6 games starting at 4 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. Nope, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Not reversing time zones. Not now. Not after that discussion at the start of the video. So I'm wearing Tampa because, well, this is a Bolts jersey, which is what they're doing again for the stadium. And I look at that and I go, they've already done that. With stadiums, I'd like to see something, something new. And then I look at Nashville's and I go, you know what? Fine. Bolts is fine. Smashville looks weird. Why are all the letters different sizes? What is this? Why does this monstrosity exist? Did somebody make that in MS Paint and they just forgot to update it? Is that Comic Sans? Is that the font it's in? So, Tampa Bay, 13-5-4 on the season. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. They're playing very well. Again, they're coming off of a split with St. Louis. The Boston Bruins, 12-8 on the season. They're 6-4 in their last 10. It depends on the game. Some games they look great. Other games they don't. And I mentioned goaltending after the review of the last one, saying their goaltending has been good. And I know all the advanced stats, all the fancy stats say their goaltending hasn't been good. I'm just saying that as a fan watching the games, I think that there's been some goals that have gone in that have just been bad luck. And so, yeah, it's going to affect the stats, but I think the goaltenders, both Ullmark and Swayman, have played all right. I think Swayman's been the better of the two, and I think that'll bear itself out as we go further into the season. And all the advanced stat stuff, I think, will even itself out too. So we'll see how this goes tomorrow. Boston and Tampa. If Boston wants to get back into the conversation of being one of the better teams in the league, beating Tampa would go a long way for them. 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific, Colorado and Ottawa. And you know what? I'm just going to do it. Colorado's 12-7-1. They're 8-2 in their last 10, but I do see this as a trap game because Ottawa's 5-15-1. They're coming off of a win over Carolina they really shouldn't have gotten. They're only 2-8 in their last 10, but I don't think they're as bad as their record. And for Colorado, they're coming off of that relatively easy win over Montreal, and who knows? Maybe we see them actually fall into the trap. That's the trap magnet against Ottawa. So we'll see. And then, yeah, while I'm at it, there's 2 games I kind of want to put this on. I'm gonna put it here. Yeah, I'm gonna put it with the and this is weird. So 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific. The Islanders are in against Detroit. I'm viewing this as kind of a trap game for Detroit. The Islanders are playing poor hockey going into, of course, them having to be shut down due to the outbreak and all that. They're 5-10-2 on the season. They're 1-8-1 in their last 10. But I really think they could pull themselves out of this tomorrow night against a Detroit team that's 12-9-3. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10. They've won 4 in a row. So I'm going to say, you know what? They've got to be careful because the Islanders, I think, are going to be a little more dangerous than the record would state. And I wouldn't be all that surprised to see an Islanders victory. We'll see. There's another, if I had 3 of these on the board, I'd probably have 3 of them here. Like if I had 3 on this side of the board, I'd probably have placed 1 in this game as well. I'll talk about it. So 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific is also the start time for Columbus and Washington. These teams are old friends with one another. I would expect this game to be very friendly. 12-9 is the record for Columbus, up and down record. And of course, without Korpisalo and Merzlikins, I thought Tarasov did well enough against Dallas. For the Capitals, 14-4-6. It all depends on how you view their record. They have 4 regulation losses, or they've only won 14 out of 24. It really depends on how you view it. But over their last 10, Columbus 5-5, so 1 up, 1 down, and Washington 6-2-2. So they've won 6 out of 10, but they've only lost 2 in regulation out of 10. So that storyline continues for the Caps. They may, at the end of the year, look back at all of these points that they've lost in overtime and shootouts, and it may cost them first place somewhere down the road. But for now, they're in good shape. So we'll see if that remains the case. And Columbus, I think, should be dangerous for a bounce-back game after that loss against Dallas, and just with how this week's gone for them. 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific's also the start time for Montreal in against Nashville. So Nashville will not take Montreal lightly in this one. Montreal 6-17-2 on the season. They're 2-7-1 in their last 10. But Nashville saw how dangerous they could be. The last time they played them, Nashville's 12-10-1. They're 5-5 in their last 10. And their home record is getting better. So Nashville, I should win this game. My choice of jersey to wear, I went with Tampa because Bolts. And Nashville was the other one I thought about where I was like, yeah, Nashville should win that game. Then at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, I think this is the main event. I think this is the big game tomorrow. I really do. Over Tampa and Boston is Toronto and Minnesota. And who saw this coming? So for Toronto, they're 17-6-1. They're 9-1 in their last 10. They've won 5 in a row. It's been incredible. For Minnesota, they're 16-6-1. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. And they've won 5 in a row. I was looking at the teams that are in the top row on the power rankings. There are a couple that don't have fantastic records in their last 10, but they've been really good overall. And yeah, there is some really strong competition at the top of the league right now, and I think that's great for fans in general. And so this game tomorrow night, it's a meeting between 2 teams that are on 5-game winning streaks. We'll see who wins. Minnesota's been very good at home, but Toronto's been really good on the road. So we'll see. This should be the best game of the night tomorrow. And then a half an hour later at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, the Carolina Hurricanes at home against Buffalo. Buffalo's 8-12-3. They're 2-7-1 in their last 10. Shouldn't be taken lightly. Here's the thing. Carolina's lost to Seattle. Carolina's lost against Ottawa. It's a game they should have won against Ottawa. They outshot them badly, but they lost it. So at 15-6-1 and 5-4-1 in their last 10, Carolina looks vulnerable to me a little bit. So we'll see if Buffalo's able to beat them or if that's not going to be the case. You've got to think Malcolm Subban makes his debut for Buffalo tomorrow night, and we'll see what he does against Carolina. It should be an interesting matchup, to say the least, because, again, Carolina's found a way to lose games against teams you would think they'd be able to beat. Then at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. So a late start time for the New York Rangers. They're 15-4-3. They're playing very, very well right now. They're 9-1 in their last 10. They've won 5 in a row. So 5 wins in a row, 5 wins in a row, 5 wins in a row. Calgary's lost 1 in regulation in their last 10. So there's a lot of teams playing really well right now. Chicago also playing pretty well. They're 7-3 in their last 10, but they're 8-12-2 overall. So I kind of view this as a bit of a trap game too, because the New York Rangers coming off of that win against San Jose, it's the second half of a back-to-back, and Chicago really desperately needs to keep plugging these victories together so they can really get back into the hunt in the Central Division and in the West in general. So that should be an interesting one too. Then at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. So this game starts 2 hours later. I'm going to be able to give it my undivided attention. Please, Vancouver, be nice to see like an entertaining game and see that the wins over Montreal and Ottawa weren't just because Montreal and Ottawa are terrible, which absolutely would be understandable to view it that way. That's kind of how the board I'm looking at is viewed it this week, and so we'll see. Pittsburgh's 10-8-5 overall. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10, and they are a very hot and cold team, and this week they've been kind of cold. We'll see how it works out in Vancouver. Vancouver's 8-14-2 on the season. They are 3-7 in their last 10. But they did win their last 2 over Montreal and Ottawa. So we'll see if they can come home and beat Pittsburgh and what happens there. But it should be an interesting one. Let me know your winners in the comment section below, your predictions and all that. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And yeah, it's for a Saturday, this isn't bad. There's no 7:30 starts either. And there's just the 9 evening games. So that's not bad for a Saturday. But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.